Okay, good day. I'm getting questions. Got a bit of wind. Hopefully it's not too bad, but I can't do anything about that. Dogs. Yeah. Old guy and a puppy. It's kind of hilarious. He just bites right over her whole backside. Bites right over like her whole head. It's kind of funny. Anyway, getting questions about the solar panel mountain system that I built. So whoever's been following my channel, you all know I have 3 arrays, all the same build, different pitches, 7 foot, 8.5 foot on that post. You know, virtually the same on this one. This one's fairly level across the ground. This one's really level across the ground. I've got pretty much the same gap all the way across. So regardless, the beauty of having 3 separate posts is you can have different depths per each. So I'll focus on one because I'll get confused and lose myself on what I'm telling you all. Every array is virtually the identical build, except for the fact that the gap right there is 2 inches. On the center array, it's 4 inches. And then that one is also 2 inches between the two. Benefits either way. That one drops off a little bit of snow. A lot of the snowfall goes between and it disappears. The negative is that the array is taller. So it's only 2 inches, but I can't reach the very top of this one. It's not at the 75-degree tilt. So that's kind of sucky. I can't get the top snow cleared off with my stick, so I need a longer pole to reach up there. Anyway, this array, I had a little bit of a mix. I'm not going to use that one, I use this one. My vertical posts on that array went a little bit crooked, which is really frustrating. That is a support for the overhang, so it doesn't bow down when it gets into 30-degree pitch. That bar is outside on these ones, on the center array. On this one, it's underneath. So it's just to help the bowing factor of the weight leaning past, because these are PG20 Unistrut is the strut bars, all the same. I bought these ones from Pembina Control, and I can't remember another name of another company. I had to buy a few more for that array. Same structure, 1.5-inch Unistrut. It's good weight load. Carries the weight of a few on the cantilever, and it does not really bow at all in the middle from post to post. So that's my frame structure. Now I have a few YouTubes. At the time I was recording, I'm new to YouTube. It's nothing amazing. I'm just sharing information. I was just recording as I kind of went before I had any panels on. I had just the frame hanging off there. I had wood plates, you know, just to kind of get an idea what that looked like. I didn't have my big metal pans. So I'll do my best to stay organized on what I'm talking about here. Where do I start? Okay, posts. Let's just go from ground up. So the posts are 16-foot 6x6s. You can go 8x8s. 6x6s are strong. They're not going anywhere. When we get a really good wind, like a 40, 50, 60k wind out here, even in the winter when they were at 75 degrees, the whole system, the whole array just kind of swung. Like it just barely moved. So they don't flex, they don't give. One negative of the wood is these are going to last longer than steel because I'm not going to rust, and cedar is fantastic for bacterial degradation and all that stuff. They're not going to go. They're going to take years. These things people say these things can last 50-60 years in the ground, and our soil is like sand. I had no rock. I had one rock, it was that big. In all of my 2-foot diameter holes that went 8 feet down. So the one pole that twisted was that one, and that kind of sucked getting that build, and that helped screw me up, put me off my line for when I mounted my posts. I forgot what I was doing when I was mounting my verticals, because this was the last ray that was built. But that twist in that really made it a major pain in the butt, so I had to shave down the front of it. I might have some visibles of that. No, this one didn't get shaved. Anyway, because it was twisted this way, I had to shave it down like this, so the post is a little bit narrower on the one side. But I got my linear all lined up all the way across the face of these. So when you do multiple poles, that's critical. You have to have the same face, so the same degree that this is pointing at. So this array is 200 degrees. This whole face has to point 200 degrees on every single pole. Some of you people know this. I'm just, you know, this is for novice. And then also your, excuse me, I got hiccups. And then the factor that the post, you could have it 200 degrees here, but then as you go up the post, if the post is twisting, you're going to end up at like 210, 215, 220 degrees up at the top, and that's where it matters. So really what matters is your top mount. It doesn't really matter if your bottom's twisted. Yeah, this one shows well. One of them, it's the farthest post over there. It's twisted in the middle, but it's equal at the bottom and at the top. It's like whack. So that's a negative, that's a con of the wood post design. If you go with like a metal I-beams or whatever, or C-channels, and you glue those on the ground, great. They're metal, they're not going to twist, not going to do anything to you, but they're going to rust, they're going to degrade quicker than the cedar. That's why I went with cedar. So 16 feet, 8 in the ground, and then at the bottom of the 8 with a 2-foot hole on a 6-inch post, and then the bottom 3 feet is concrete. However many bags, I think it was 7 bags or something, whatever, doesn't matter. Just 3 feet deep of concrete at a 2-foot diameter that created a bell. And then every 4 inches, as we filled the hole, we tamped all the dirt down with 4x4s and tamping tools and all that stuff. And then we tamped, and we didn't have any sinkage, so we did a really good job of tamping that down. Like, we didn't have any dirt drop after the fact. So that's kind of a sign of how well you've done your tamping process. Some of our channels, they have a little bit of a drop, so we're going to add some dirt in the future. Not a big deal. It's an acreage farm kind of deal. So 8 feet in, 3-foot bell of concrete on the bottom. They're not moving anywhere. They're not going to rise, they're not going to drop, because our frost line here is 4 to 5 feet. And then we have 8 feet out on average. That little guy is only 7.5. That one's like 8 1/4, 8 1/2. So they're different. But again, now I have a laser level that I ran across from the top of the post all the way across to make sure my heights were identical, because that is critical. Otherwise, your array is going to be tilted, and your hinges are not going to tilt properly. They're not going to rotate. So I got these from Greg's distributor. They came with 3 bolt holes. I added the top heavy duty one, and I went with a grade 8 bolt on that one. So the big gold one is a very heavy duty, because there's a little, you can see the little gap forming. So the weight of this system is pulling away from the pole. It wants to pull forward. So I put the big old heavy bolt up there just to guarantee. So I re-drilled that one. And yeah, it's stupid strong. The whole system is actually very easy to tilt. I'll get to that after. So up the post, and then to put a back strap on here so I'm not bolting into the wood, and I just have these guys sitting flat. I only have a washer here. What the heck? Why did I do that? Yeah, these don't have a washer. Huh, that's weird. Okay, I don't know why there's a washer on that one, but whatever. The bolts, the nuts, everything all painted black. They don't even, you can see there's no snow even on them because they're all guarded. I'm not expecting any rust buildup on any of this. All super coated all of the paint with my pen. So back to the post. Like I said, I kind of go all over, so have fun listening to me. 8 feet up, I got the hinge, got the back strap, I've got that mount, and then I had the pans built after I did some testing with 3/4 inch wood to just see how the arrays would tilt. I had the hinge welded, and the guys at Parkland Welding drilled my holes, and we use grade 8 bolts on those as well. So we've got double protections, I guess, for this pan, because it's 1/4 inch steel and it's 42 inches long, 14 inches wide with a 2-inch lip. So it's heavy. It doesn't flex. It really sucks to mount these things, but that is guaranteeing that when I get down to my 30-degree tilt, I'm not going to get a lot of bow of the overhang past that pan. I know a lot of guys use like 4-inch C channel or U channel, whatever, nice beautiful aluminum and all that stuff. Great if you want to spend 20 grand on your array, on your ground mounts. My ground mounts, all three, cost me $8,000 for building the metal, for building my archers. I designed those. Actually, I had a friend of mine from church helped with that. He helped me design those. I designed the pans. I designed the seam joints extenders. So this is a 14-foot beam here. That's a 20-foot beam there, because they only come in 20s. Because I have a 34-foot wide array on this one, and then I have this 12-inch. 10-12 inch metal that is just holding the seam right in the middle. So, and then I offset my seams so that the one's there, there's not one there, then there's one there, and there's not one there. The next one, it's there, so I'm not crossing. Like if you're doing like tile floor or something like that. Oh, it's there, and then it's way the heck. Where the hell's the other one? Bottom. Oh, it's way over there. So a little bit different for every one of them, how the seams are, but the idea was that I'd never have them. I didn't want that intersecting. I don't know why I did that way. Yeah. Oops. Anyway, oh, we got a guest. Get him. Yeah, the puppy's learning quick from the old guy. So that's the pen. I think it's around 100 pounds for that big guy. That carries the weight that way. It carries the twist factor here. I was going to do one 12-foot and then one 4-foot, so it would have reached just past this bar here and like stopped about here, and then just passed on there and stopped about there. But once I saw how much bow factor there was with this system wanting to tilt down, I just opted in and spent the extra money to get 2 full 12-footers or whatever. Yeah, 12-footers. So it's from that beam there to that beam there is about 12 feet. So having the 2 there, and then having the outer support bar, which is the same as the inner support bar, and then 2 there and 2, like, yeah, I was underestimating the weight of this system. So just the panels alone weigh 1,000 pounds, 50 pounds per, and there's 20 panels on each. So with that, the rest of the equipment, the bars, the iron, the plate, is another 1,000 pounds, 800 to 1,000 pounds. So it's 1,800 to 2,000 pounds per array outside of the posts. So yeah, it's heavy, but you know what's really unique is because I've used Unistrut, everything was a custom hole. So this is the hard part most people are not going to be willing to do. Oh, I do have some melt here. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch for the rust build up on this. Yeah, so 4-inch gap gives more snow through. 2-inch gap doesn't give as much, but regardless, it's all good. Every hole, see I have a missed hole right there. I had miscalculated where my holes needed to be. So everything had to line up. The easiest ones were these ones, because the panel had a hole right here where the panels mount to the post, and it's it's definitive exactly where it's going to be. This one sucked because the seam joined right where the panels had to mount. And then I have the smart nut system. See that little black spacer in there? If you can see that, it goes into the Unistrut. And you place it in, and you turn it, and you can slide it back and forth, and it's kind of got little teeth that bite onto the inside of the Unistrut. And then you just put a bolt through into a nut, and it pulls it, and the teeth bite into there, and the bolt holds your panel on. So I also have the upgraded, or the heavier duty version of the 1/2-inch model of that Unistrut. So all of these bolts, they're seated in with a, you can't see it, But anyway, they're blue. So that's a bigger bolt, which was hard to get set because I had to reach my wrench up inside of here to reach up to that bolt. We had to ratchet strap the system up to get the because I can literally slide my array up or down on this on the pans, which is super handy for balancing. But of course I can't get my wrench in there down inside that C channel to that bolt at that distance, so I had to lower the array or whatever. I had to make it so the bolts were closer to the edge of the pan by sliding the array up. Anyway, so I get a wrench in there, I could tighten it up. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt. But anyway, so those holes, everything had to be specifically drilled per position, except for when there was a smart nut, because the smart nut's just sliding along inside the channel wherever, so it was very easy. But the distance of drilling that horizontal to meet that vertical, you had to be exact for where the distance from that horizontal is to that horizontal. So drill in there and then measure exactly the right distance that the panel gave you to that point, and then depending on the gap you want, you drill that distance to that down the unistrut to that distance, and then again it's the same distance from that one to that one. So a lot of calculations where this, you can buy rack systems that people do that for you. They do all the measurements, you send your panel specs in and they just build it. Sinclair Design, I believe, does that, but those racking systems are 12,000 American each to hold 20 panels. So I'm 8,000 for all 60 panels. So that's kind of a big savings. Now the pans cost me $200 each. I got 9 pans. Yeah, it was about $1,800 for all of the black pans to have them build, bend, all of it, and weld on my hinges from Greg's. So it's a lot of metal, but totally worth it. Happy I've done it. My chin's getting cold. It's chilly out today. My speech is starting to slur. The arcs, this is the ones that my friend helped me build. We determined that we wanted a nice wide spread so that the arc would hold some of that bowing factor weight, the pan and the arc together. And then of course the arc is also the tilt factor. So this is how I tilt my array. As I come in here, yeah, I'm going to need to do some more protection. I got some rust. So steel, yeah, welcome to the world of steel. You gotta make sure your rust protection's up. I had these built at a trucking outfit that does all types of leaf spring work. They took the straight iron and they actually wax coated these, so they haven't developed really any rust at all. MPHD from Amsoil. Stuff is amazing. So yeah, they just bent these at the exact width. I gave them this measurement and this measurement, and then told them I want an extra inch outside, 1.5 inches or something. And yeah, so they bent them and then just threaded them for me. Cost me $100 for 9. I was like, that's awesome. Gave me the washers and the bolts to go with it, and then yeah, I undo these two, and then I do the other end post, and these will kind of dangle in the little groove it's created, and it's not going to groove anymore because we're pretty much, yeah, we're touching flat. So this is the deepest it's going to crush the wood, and now it's flat against the post in there. So that's my goal. I just took my time slowly crushing it. So I undo these, this one gets free, I undo the end one, that gets free, and then I only have the middle one attached. Now, when I just have the middle one attached, if I was to grab the corner of the array and kind of give it a shake, the other end of the array kind of moves, barely. So the one unit, the one bent bar does a massive amount of work. It really holds the system. So as a unit, the system is very, very strong. The panels do a lot of work. They solidify the joints. As you know, once you do your corners up on any type of build and you put a cross strap on, it's really strong. Without the panels, one strap on there, it's really flexy. Like it's really quite a moving system. But once you mount on those other two, the outers, it doesn't move at all. So it's very stable. Then what I do is I come in here, I undo this one. Once the outers are done, I undo this one, and I literally can just barely lean my back into this post, and I just push back against it, and I just adjust to my tilt. And every one of these, this is, if this bolt is in this hole, this bolt will be in this hole. So when it's these two, that's 75 degrees. If I move it, 70, 65, 55, 75, 70, 65, 60. I thought I was at 50 degrees already. Maybe I'm off how my measurements go. I can't remember. But regardless, this one is at 50 degrees. I checked it with the PV Enhancer app. That one's at 55 and that one's at 55. I want them a little more vertical to catch the earlier sun. This one a little more flat to catch the midday sun, and that one a little more vertical to catch the evening sun as it comes down. And again, midday, I don't need them all sitting middle. It's way too much power. So I can just move it all the way back to, I think we have it set to max out at 30 degrees. If I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. Anyway, oh, my dog is grabbing something. Hey, hey, leave it. Drop it. No, you don't eat that. No, go find a toy. This is what she's been doing, eating things she doesn't need to eat. So she's been a pain in the butt. You're gonna get that. I'm not gonna edit it because I don't do a lot of editing. It takes too long. Okay, so that's the tilting factor. That's the bolt on. Oh, spacers. I just saw those. You gotta do spacers. So what I used was copper tubing for waterline because it's the right diameter for the bolt. And lock washers, of course, definitely use lock washers. There is something about maintaining your array. In code in Canada, you have to go through and check your bolts, showing maintenance reports and stuff like that. Will they call on it? Probably not. They're not that specific, but there is some code saying you got to check your mounting system and all that. Anyway, the copper tubes stops the unistrut. If I over tighten this, I'll just crush the unistrut. It'll just squish it. So by putting copper tube in, it gives a spacer and stops it from crushing together. So I did that through every one of the verticals, joining on the arches and on the straps. You can't see it because the panels, you know, there's a copper tube in each one of these, stopping the crushing factor. So that what else can I tell you guys? That's the mount. I think that's really it. So yeah, designing this distance from there to there, I think is 6 feet is what we went for. So we're going for a 6 foot diameter circle. And then of course these bolts all lined up beautifully. The Parkland welding was great with the drilling out plasma cutting these holes. So I just tilted and it just follows that arc just perfectly. So that's really cool. Super easy to do. Even if I undo these bolts and there's no wind, I have all of the bolts off. By moving the array up or down, by loosening these guys up, I can slide my array. It's very heavy, so we use straps. We hook a strap on the top side of the, hook it over, run it down, and hook it onto the bottom unistrut, and then we can ratchet it up or we can lower it down. Lowering down is harder because you can't ratchet it down. So typically we lay it flat and then we'll ratchet it to the side to go lower or up this way to go higher. But regardless, we ended up getting it where we have a 55 degree balance point. because in the winter we want 75 degrees, in the summer we want 35 degrees. So the midpoint is 55 degrees. And so that's where it wants to sit. So it's really not putting a lot of strain on the system. It wants 55 degrees. At 75, it kind of wants to fall toward the post. At 35, it kind of wants to lay down. But not as much as if I had it set to sit at a 90 degree, when it would be really heavy for me to get it up to, you know, a 30 degree, because I'm fighting all the weight that's too low on the center point. And that's all dependent on your pivot. So yeah, which again, this pivot is going to last forever because it gets no weather, no snow, no rain, no nothing gets in there. So yeah, people are saying I'm going to need a bearing system, I got to get automation, I got to get gears and a crank lever and all that stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. So again, I'm just under 50 years old, and I'm planning on being able to adjust this thing when I'm 70 and 80 years old, and it's really simple. It takes me 2 seconds to undo the bolts with my drill. In my solar shed, I have the 3/4 inch socket and adapter to go right to my drill, and it bam, 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 and then these two loosen her up and give it a tilt, and away we go. So okay, long video, 25 minutes, that's pretty long, but I hope that answers any questions. If there's any more questions about how to build this system, that's what I did. It was a lot of work to build. You can buy systems that are pre-designed and pre-built, or hire somebody to do it, but you know, you're going to spend $12, $15, $20,000 to hold 20 panels on the equipment, and then you got to have it installed, which it's easy to install when they've built it for you because everything lines up. Drilling your posts, you got to be 100% specific, in line, without question. You can't screw that up. If you're not sure that you can pull it off, hire somebody. I knew I could do it, but I knew I was going to have a little bit of mishaps. I had to re-drill that hole. So this gap, my screw up was that I had it too far back, and a little bit, it was at 12-foot distance from center to center. Now it's 13.5 from center to center, because I had to move the hole out, forward, but I didn't just move it forward, I moved it forward and over by accident. So I ended up with a bigger gap. So there was potential bowing in the middle, which never happened. So I got lucky. But if you're not sure, I was willing to deal with the issues that I could screw up. That one turned out perfect. They're exactly like, one's like 11 foot 10 inches, and the other one's like 12 foot 1 inches apart in the center to center of post. So that was my last build. This was my first, that was my second. Okay, I think that's all I can tell you guys. Wiring, that's a whole different story. That's a whole nother 30-minute video. But yeah, when it's warmer out, I might do more. I'm getting cold, so I'm gonna shut her down. I think that's all the questions I can give you, and answers, thoughts. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for listening. And there they go, fighting again. Fight, fight, fight. Let them fight. Godzilla versus, I don't know, some smaller creature. She's such a pain to him, but he just takes it. She pulls him across the ground by his ear, and he won't fight back sometimes. It's so funny. Anyway, I could watch my dogs for hours. I won't bore you with the exciting Princess versus Gus.